This again. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome. Oh God, why? Why would you get the squeaky toy every single time? Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome to... Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Hi everyone, it's me. I don't know how I'm going to get this video made today. I really want to read the how do you say that? Empusium? Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome to another video. First of all, let's just talk about the length of the hair. She does have a hair appointment this weekend. It's getting the chop, chop, chop. Anyway, with my hair update out of the way, let's get into the questions for the end of the year book tag. I have answered these questions in earnest for the last 3 years. The tag itself was created by Ariel Bissett, and I will leave a link to her tag, or I think the original tag. I'll leave a link to the original tag down below, and I'll leave links to a couple of other booktubers who have done this tag already this year, like Gemma over at Gem of Books, and Ben over at Ben Reads Good, and Simon over at Savage Reads. I feel like I'm a little bit late to the party with this one, as usual. What I will say is that I don't think she intended it when she made this tag, but the first question for this tag, for me, for this year, is humbling. It makes me feel shame. I don't know if it makes me feel shame. It definitely makes me feel that I've become incredibly ambitious as a reader in terms of, if I wasn't ambitious before, in terms of how many books I think I can finish that I start. So the first question is, are there still any books you've started this year that you still need to finish? I am humbled. I am humbled when I think about how can I answer this question. If I look on my Goodreads in terms of my currently reading books and actually count the number of books that I am currently reading, and it grows by the week, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 books that I am actually interested in finishing, that I'm actually currently reading. Maybe 15, 16, 17. Some of them are holdovers from last year. I think I'm becoming notorious for starting books and not finishing them. And they are not really DNFs. Most of them are books that I'm interested in, that I want to finish. But this whole reading several books at the same time, I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand. And I'm wondering if next year I should consider putting a cap. Like maximum 5 books at a time, because I seem to have generated a habit of starting books and not finishing them. Am I proud of it? No. Am I going to beat myself up about it? No. Let's just take a moment to consider the unfinished projects that I might be able to actually complete this year. Which brings me to my unfinished second edition of the college reading vlog, which I started back in May or June. I think it was when I came back from my UK trip. And it's possible that I was just burnt out from my UK trip, and that's why I didn't end up finishing it. Or it's also possible that the books that I was reading kind of stumped me. So these were the 4 books that I was reading for the college reading vlog for the second installment. I'll leave a link to the first installment that went really smoothly from the year before in the description box below. I started out really strong. I read these 2 books, this one very quickly, and this one not as quickly, but did manage to finish it. And then it's this book, White Noise. White Noise has really stumped me. I've gotten halfway through White Noise and I just kind of stalled. It's like a car stalling. Literally, I stalled and I've just had so much trouble picking it back up again. I don't know. I've lost my momentum. I've lost my interest. Do I DNF or do I carry on reading for the purposes of the vlog, or do I talk about DNFing it in the vlog? All of these things are things that I've considered. In the meantime, I did start Ceremony, but just barely. I've just barely started Ceremony. And I picked up the camera to finish that vlog and I realized that I have a completely different hairstyle from when I started that vlog. So I would like to finish it. It's on my, it continues to be pushed on my BookTube filming schedule. In other words, it keeps getting pushed back by a week or two in favor of other videos, but I would really like to finish it because I love the idea of the college reading vlog and I had such a good time with it the year before. And the footage that I have is really good. It's just that when I finish it, it's going to be really strange because it's going to be like a whole year-long vlog for reading these books. Anyway, so that's one project that I would really like to finish. It involves two books that I haven't finished yet this year that I would really like to finish. There are other books, of course, that I've started that I feel the need to finish that I'm really enjoying. Will I finish them by the end of the year? I'm not sure. The two that I wanted to talk about specifically are The Coast Road by Alan Murin, which I started weeks and weeks and weeks ago, just started it and got distracted by other books, unfortunately, that I needed to finish for various different commitments in terms of the BookTube Prize and other book clubs and read-alongs and buddy reads. And the other one is Biography of X by Catherine Lacey, which I haven't gotten too far in, but I have been really, really enjoying, and it was a gift from a friend. I was reading it for the Framed Reading Challenge, and I have to say I'm really, really enjoying it. So these two are taking priority in terms of finishing off books that I've started, but there are others that I would really, really love to finish as well. So I will be talking about some of them as we move on in the video, but those are the ones that those are the books that I'm going to try to prioritize for the remainder of the month of November. I'm going to try to finish that college reading vlog in November if I can. And thinking back as to why haven't I finished it? Like I said, I think that White Noise is one of the reasons. I think also I can say that in the last few months I've picked up some other hobbies that are not book related that I think have taken some of the time away from my committed reading. This is so far outside the scope of the content for this BookTube tag, but I took up roller skating and I'm having so much fun with that. And the roller skate's going to roll down the hall. And I've also taken up tennis, which is just so much fun. So I've been having a great time doing a lot of other activities and just really enjoying them and keeping up with read-alongs that I've spontaneously decided to host. So reading books that I wasn't expecting to read, and it's really just been a bit more of a go with the flow kind of vibe. Since the end of the summer or beginning of the fall, I've been going a little bit more with the flow. So I think that's part of my excuse. Is it an excuse or is it an explanation? You can decide. Second question, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? I actually have a book that I have to finish for the end of the day today. I'm filming this on Thursday. It might not go up on my channel until Friday. I'm currently reading on my Kindle, actually, The God of the Woods, which was my book club's pick for this month. I'm almost finished. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to finish The God of the Woods by the time that we have our book club meeting at 7 p.m. ce soir. And so it is kind of, I would say it's kind of got a summery autumnal vibe. It's a bit spooky. It's a mystery. It's about a girl who goes missing from sleepaway camp, and it has a lot of intrigue. And I will say I'm probably 3/4 of the way through this one, and I did find that it's taken a long time for us to get anywhere with the plot. So I'm feeling a little bit annoyed with it, but I will finish it because I need to know where this girl is and what happened to her. It's about a girl who goes missing in the woods one night from her sleepaway camp. There's more to it than that. I haven't really had a chance to introduce it in a TBR, but I will talk about it in a wrap-up since I'm going to finish it for tonight. And then I would say the other book is one that I had chosen out for Victober, which I didn't get to in Victober, that I still really want to read, and that is the Sarah Waters Fingersmith. I haven't read anything by Sarah Waters, and I would really like to read something of hers because I've heard so many people speak about how great her books are. And this one, it's set in London, and it's set in the Victoria era. It's set in 1862, and it's about an orphan who is a pickpocket, and it feels like it's got the kind of underworld creepy vibe that I guess I would associate with autumnal vibes, but I admit it's a wider interpretation. I have a couple of books out of the library that I think also kind of have autumnal vibes. Gosh, that's hard to say. Autumnal vibes. I didn't realize that would be a tongue twister for me. I just got 2 books out of the library that I think... Actually, I have a few books out of the library that are more summer vibes and not autumnal vibes, but summer leading into autumn, leading into winter, I guess. The first one is All Fours by Miranda July, which I've been waiting and waiting for this to come in on my reserves at the library for such a long time, and finally it's here. And I'm really hoping that I'll enjoy it. I think it is kind of a summer vibe book, but it's a road trip book. It's about a woman who is an artist who is, I guess she's in her midlife, and she's driving, going on a drive across the country, kind of running away from her responsibilities and trying to discover and understand herself better. I've heard mixed things about it, but I think that's going to be... Maybe I should move on to the next question, which is I think this is this question about what books do you want to finish by the end of the year and which one has autumnal vibes. So yeah, sort of semi-autumnal vibes on this one, and definitely one that I'd like to read before the end of the year, so it might show up again later in the video. This book I also took out of the library. I talked about this one in one of the Globe and Mail's, I think it was the Globe and Mail's books to read for fall, which I did a feu weeks back. I'll leave a link in the description box below talking about those releases. This one sounded so interesting to me at the time, and I was really pumped when I saw it on the shelf at my library. It's called Catalina by Carla Cornejo Vicencio. I'm butchering that name. I'm so sorry. But it's got kind of academia vibes. I'll just read a little bit from the description in the inside flap. It's about Catalina, who is admitted to Harvard, and it feels like a miracle to her because she has escaped essentially a death sentence in Latin America and had moved to Queens and was raised by her undocumented grandparents. So she feels like she's a chosen one. But it's not simple for her, least of all when her own complicated, contradictory, ruthless, probing mind gets in her way. She's a senior at Harvard. She's facing graduation to a world that has no place for the undocumented. I mean, even just touching this after the Trump win feels like it might be a tough one to read, but I think it's going to be a good story. So I really want to read it. Her sense of doom intensifies her curiosities and desires. She infiltrates the school's elite subcultures, internships and literary journals, posh parties and secret societies, which she observes with the eye of an anthropologist and an interloper's skepticism. She finds herself drawn to a fellow student, a budding anthropologist, eager to teach her about the Latin American world. This has the same vibes as And Then She Fell. But she's also trying to think about how she can save her family, because her family back in Queens, everything is beginning to unravel for them. It's a coming-of-age novel. It's a novel about immigration, and it's set in academia. And I think it's going to be really good. Let's move on to the next question. I don't mean to bring people down. I almost keep forgetting that the election happened. Like, I think I've just blocked it out of my mind, which is not necessarily a healthy thing. But I think some of us have these kind of coping mechanisms where it's too overwhelming to think about it. I think for me, it just feels so overwhelming to think about. I've kind of blocked out the results of the election, at least for the moment. I'm sure it will all come crashing down when Trump takes office in January. Next question. I did not know I was going to end up talking about politics and Trump in this video. What the hell? The places books will take you. Question number 3 is, what new releases are you still waiting for? So I'm not a big new release girly, and these have, I think, already been released in the States. I'm not sure about Canada. There are a couple of books coming out this fall by authors that I really, really love. So the first one is Entitlement by Ruman Alam. He wrote Leave the World Behind, which I really, really loved. This book is billed as psychological fiction, which is one of the reasons why I think I like him, is because I like a good psychological, thrillery, fiction-y novel. That's really up my alley. This one is about Brooke, our main character. And it's set in the before times during the Obama administration. Brooke isn't in need, but there are things she wants. A sense of purpose, for instance. She wants to make a difference in the world, to impress her mother along the way, to spend time with friends and secure her independence. Her job assisting an octogenarian billionaire. I'm sorry, I'm going to move this because the sun is really moving. I needed to move the camera because the sun keeps moving. So, hot, unsettling, and alive to the seductive distortions of money, Entitlement is a riveting tale for our new Gilded Age, a story that confidently considers questions about need and worth, race and privilege, philanthropy and generosity, passion and obsession. A provocative, propulsive novel about the American imagination. So that doesn't really tell me very much about the plot, but because I loved Leave the World Behind so much, I feel like I'd love to give it a go if I can find it at my library. I'm sure I won't pick it up in hard copy because I just don't buy stuff in hard copy, but I might pick that up if I can find it at my library. The other book that I'm interested in, or the other author who has a book come out that I'm really interested in, Olga Tokarczuk's new book, The Impusium by Olga Tokarczuk. Byline of it is a health resort horror story. This sounds amazing. I love her. I really loved her book, Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead. I never did pick up the Books of Jacob. I never gave it a try. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I should make the Books of Jacob a read-along on my channel. Let me know in the comments section below if you have any desire or interest for reading Olga Tokarczuk's the Books of Jacob as a read-along, because the read-alongs really help to get you through these big, big, heavy-duty books. September 1913, a young Pole suffering from tuberculosis arrives at Wilhelm Opit's guest house for gentlemen in the village of Gorbersdorf, a health resort in the Silesian mountains. Every evening, the residents gather to imbibe in hallucinogenic local liqueur and debate the great issues of the day. Monarchy or democracy? Do devils exist? Are women born inferior? War or peace? Meanwhile, disturbing things are happening in the guest house and the surrounding hills. Someone or something seems to be watching, attempting to infiltrate this cloistered world. Little does the newcomer realize as he tries to unravel both the truths within himself and the mystery of the sinister forces beyond, that they have already chosen their next target. Okay, that is such a better description than the description for Entitlement. Hello! I'm so excited to read The Impusium by Olga Tokarczuk. I'm actually really excited to read that one. So those are a few that I might be able to get to. They're the ones I'm most excited about that are new releases. Question number 4. What are the 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Well, Ariel, tag. It's nice that you would ask me this. So I actually have 2 other books out of the library that I would really like to read before the end of the year, and then I pulled some from my shelves that I really want to read, some that I've already talked about in other TBRs that I haven't gotten to, and a couple that are new that I just picked up that I've bought since last time I did a book haul. In terms of the library books, I have Creation Lake by Rachel Kushner, which I would really like to get to. This was, of course, is it shortlisted? Oh gosh, I think it might be shortlisted for the Booker. But it was definitely longlisted for the Booker Prize. It's about a woman who is a secret agent who is sent to do some work in France. She's known as Sadie Smith, and she's sent to a rural commune of French subversives on whom she keeps tabs. And she has a lover who's a Parisian. But I think the idea is that she becomes entranced by this kind of mysterious guy, Bruno Lacombe, who's a mentor to these young activists, who believes that the path to emancipation is not revolt, but a return to the ancient past. It sounded really, really good. I wanted to read, it was the first one that I wanted to read when I went through the list of books that had been nominated, but it didn't come out for a while in Canada, and it took a while again for me to get it from the library. I keep having to move because of the sun. I'm just going to keep rotating as I film this. The other book that I really want to get to before the end of the year was a book that came out this summer that I was really excited about. It's called Evenings and Weekends by Ocean McKenna. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. This is an Irish writer, and I think it takes place over a weekend or just one day in London, and it's about a group of young people and the challenges that they face. I don't really know too much more about it than that, but I've heard it's really, really good. And since I have it from the library, I'd really love to start and finish it before it has to be returned. And then in terms of my pile of books that have been on a couple of different TBRs, the two that I'd really like to get to before the end of the year in particular are We Meant Well by Arum Shazia Hassan. I've been meaning to get to this book since last year's Giller, and yeah, I just think I gotta crack it open and get to it because it really sounds so good. It's about a worker in a nonprofit organization, in an international nonprofit organization, who is, I don't know if they're abusive or they're unethical. Their behavior is called into question, and it calls into question a lot of issues around nonprofits and helping organizations. So I really want to get to this one. I really want to get to The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've never read a Becky Chambers book before, and I've been meaning to read this for quite some time this year, and I think it'd be really a cozy read as we move into more of the winter months. So this is definitely one that I definitely want to try to get to. That's two. And then I have two others that I picked up. A Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Power. I think this was listed for the Women's Prize, or maybe it didn't get listed, but it was in the Carol Shields Prize long list. I apologize. I can't remember now which long list it was on, but it was on one of those two. I'm guessing Carol Shields Prize. And at the time, I really wanted to read it, but again, I couldn't get it out of my library, or other books took priority. This follows the stories of three different women's lives: Sissy, Lillian, and Cora, born in 1888, 1925, and 1961. It's about these three generations of Yanktonai Dakota women who are grappling with the impacts of settler colonialism. It's told in part, I've heard, through the point of view of their dolls, which I think is kind of an interesting narrative choice. And that's really all I know about it, but I'm really interested to read A Council of Dolls. I've heard good things about it, and it says National Book Award long list as well. So that must have been for the National Book Award last year that it was long listed. Interesting. And then the other book that I picked up during award season that I'd like to get to, that I haven't really heard very many booktubers talking about, is The Most by Jessica Anthony. This is a shorter book, but it sounded really intriguing to me. It's about a woman named Kathleen who was a college tennis champion turned Delaware housewife. It's set at the end of the 1950s, in 1957. It's, I think, dealing with the life of someone who has these expectations of her and rejects them, says that she decides not to join her husband and her two young boys at church one day, and instead takes a dip in the swimming pool of her family's apartment complex. And then she won't come out. So it's set only over the course of 8 hours. I think it sounds fascinating. I haven't heard very many people talking about it, and I'd like to be the one to read and talk about it. No, I'm sure there are people who've talked about it. I've just missed it somewhere along the way, but it sounds really, really good as well. Question number 5. Is there a book that you think could shock you and become one of your favorite books for 2024? Well, all I have to say to that question is that can always, always happen. How in the world are we supposed to know? I don't know if I'm going to fall in love with all fours or hate all fours. I don't know if Biography of X is going to become one of my favorite books of the year if I finish it. I really think that question is a tough, tough, tough one. But if I had to choose one, I would think that it would be the Olga Tokarczuk book, if I can get my hands on it, because I am a huge fan of Olga Tokarczuk. And also, I haven't really talked about what my best books of the year are yet. I tend to think about what the best books I've read for the year around the time of the end of the year. So it's not as if I have a list Like, I haven't done a mid-year, my best books of the year, 6 months through the year. The few that I could name off the top of my head would be Brotherless Night, which I really, really loved. James, obviously. Other than that, there are books that are kind of moving around. Are they going to be in my favorites list? Are they not? I've read so many good books this year. It's always really difficult for me to choose the best books of the year. It's always a really tough one. The last question is, have you already started making plans for 2025? I can't even. Have I? No, I'm still trying to catch up with 2024. 2024 has gotten away from me and I'm just trying to catch up with it. I'm literally like backfilling 2024 right now. I'm not making plans for 2025 yet. But if I have to commit to anything for 2025, there are a few things that I'm willing to commit to. The first thing is that I have submitted my name to be a judge for the BookTube Prize again next year. And I was really happy to hear that there are some other booktubers who are going to be joining in the fiction judging next year, including Gemma and some others, which is super exciting because I kind of felt like there weren't enough people last year. That will be really, really fun. I'm not sure how many rounds for the BookTube Prize I'll participate in, but I discovered books that I would not have heard of. For example, Loved and Missed by Susie Boyd, which is one of my favorite books that I read this year. I discovered that book through the BookTube Prize. I never would have heard of it if I wasn't participating in judging that prize. Very much looking forward to that. And I ended up hosting, I just threw it out there last year as an idea about hosting a read-along on my channel for Invisible Man at the beginning of the year. And I ended up hosting read-alongs for The Invisible Man, East of Eden, The Moonstone, and then finally Martyr. And I think I really want to do those again next year. I'm not sure if I can. I'm 100% sure that I cannot commit to running a book club, but I really enjoy hosting these read-alongs through Voxer in smaller groups, and so I'll probably continue to do that next year. If you have any ideas for books that you'd like to start out with, I've already suggested The Books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk as our starting point. I didn't know I was going to do that before I turned the camera on, but I did do that, so that's a possible place to start in the new year. And then going from there, usually it would be some of the bigger, chunkier classics that I want to tackle. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be putting together my classics TBR for 2025 at the end of December, and maybe that will help to influence that list. I have 17 classics on my list of classics that I wanted to read in 2024, and 3 of those were read-alongs: The Moonstone, Invisible Man, and East of Eden. And it's amazing to me that I was able to read those this year. I have read, I think, maybe only 7 on my list, but they're heavy hitters and they're big books. So some of those books on my list of classics that I want to read might carry over into 2025. I always put together a list of classics that I would like to read. Some of the things that I haven't been doing as well on in 2024, aside from the college reading vlog, which I'd love to finish, is I really haven't been reading much from my Wrapped TBR, which I had done the last 2 years running. I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to wrap up a TBR this year. It's always fun to wrap the books for the TBR, and it's fun to also unwrap them. But then what I noticed this year is that there's just so many prizes, so many books that aren't on your radar at the beginning of the year or at the end of the previous year that then come on your radar, that it's really hard to prioritize books that you didn't get to. And it's a shame because they're still, I'm sure, just as enjoyable. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to do about the Wrapped TBR, if I'm going to do that again. I also have a TBR jar from when my bookshelves fell down during the hurricane, which I've only pulled 1 book out of that TBR jar, and I haven't, surprise, surprise, read it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do something with the TBR jar instead. I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching as always. I really enjoy doing tags like these for the most part because they really help you to get some perspective on your reading year. And for me, this is a really good reminder that it's almost the end of the year. I kind of can't believe it, but you know, we really only have 6 weeks left to get all this reading in. So I know for sure I'll be participating in the Reindeer Readathon because I have almost every year. So stay tuned for that. that. Lots of content coming your way for December. I'm hoping to put together some kind of like book recommendation gift guide, which I did last year. So yeah, stay tuned. There's lots of stuff coming down the pipe for you on the channel. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this book to come in from reserve, come in from other people who'd had it out on reserve. Well, now I got nervous that it's not picking up my voice, so I'm just going to stop for a minute. In this tag feels to me at this, for this, but the first question.
I'm Haley and I read 4 books every day.
Oh, Haley reads 4 books every day. She's definitely got one on me. But I would admit that that's probably like a wider interpretation of the notion of I would admit that that's a wider interpretation of the idea of autumnal vibes.